Beautiful people, hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. This is episode 118 of Sunday Sessions with Rich podcast. It's been a couple days since we last spoke, but I hope all is well with you, man. On today's episode, I have a wonderful holistic health coach with me. She also is an inner child specialist as well. And I'm going to drop her ebook at the bottom of it as well. Letitia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and peace to everyone listening. And again, thank you for having me on here.
Of course. I gave you a mini red carpet, but for those who don't know about you, please let us know who you are and the amazing things you got going on.
Sure, thank you. So, okay, my name's Letitia, and I have been a holistic health coach for the past 12 and a half years. I have been on my own holistic and spiritual journey for, I'll say forever, but for the past 20 plus years, I'll say in this lifetime, I've been on like my spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And it has helped me to like form my business. It helped me to form Peaceoffood Wellness. That is my business. And Peaceoffood is a place where I have wanted to empower people, especially people that look like us, but not exclusively, because we have suffered in some areas on all levels, physically with our health, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So I wanted to have a business and a platform where I empowered people, motivated them to have a more balanced, peaceful, holistic life. Just realizing that you are a whole person and it's not just about like, oh, only your physical health matters. Like, no, like you have, excuse me, you have to pay attention to your emotions. You have to pay attention to, even if you don't have like a so-called spiritual life and you don't really hugely connect to that, there's still parts of you that connecting to nature that can be spiritual and it's simple. You know, you don't have to have rituals and do all these things. You can just go for a walk. That's spiritual. Go on a trail in your neighborhood, talk to your neighbor, like do these different things and look at
Whatever
them
feels
from
right
different light.
Yeah.
So I used Peaceoffood to hold workshops, to work one-on-one with clients. I have ebooks available on my website, and then I have also recently became a guided meditation like certified teacher.
Let's
So
go.
that is something that
Congrats.
I've been, thank you. I usually don't like tell stuff like,
No.
you know how sometimes you feel weird about like celebrating yourself, and I need to get out of that light.
Celebrate yourself.
I recently became a guided meditation teacher, and that's something I've been working on more to, I don't want to say perfect, but I have little guided meditations on Instagram and on my website and within some of my courses, and actually a free one on my website too. So, and on my podcast. So I do a lot.
Oh yeah, you a podcast too. We gotta talk to us about the podcast.
So it's after my business name, the Peaceoffood Wellness Podcast, and you can find it across all platforms, just like yours. And similar, I talk about everything I talk about on Instagram and TikTok, my perspective on all different topics within the holistic health umbrella. So within down to things that what's Peaceoffood up to, down to my opinion on some weird current events and connecting it to maybe some inner work that we have to do as a collective. I talk about my gardening sometimes here and there.
Oh yeah, I did peep the garden.
Older episodes. Oh yeah, I love gardening too. Some older episodes I talk about like religion and spirituality, because I grew up Christian, but now I've been on the spiritual path. So I talk about a lot of different topics. So that's why I'm sure we connected.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just a little bit of what I do. I have so many projects happening, and it's been really great seeing my business grow and flow, and
I
yeah.
love that. It's because
But
I love that. It's really, and to add to that, it's just because you're living in your like your purpose and your pure alignment right now. And so you're being rewarded for just doing what you feel from the heart space. I love that.
yeah, and it hasn't been easy. Like,
No.
I love that Erin talks about that too. Like, yeah, we post what we want, and Instagram has headed towards the more performative
Yeah.
avenue in some ways. So a lot of people do only post the good times, but there's been a lot of work, like even with my new course about the inner child healing,
Yes,
that
we gotta talk
is
about that
from years
too.
and years of me like working on my stuff and like
Yeah.
using my pain and using things that I've used over like 20 plus years. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, let me just write this and think about this. Like,
Yeah.
it's my experience along with perspective, but it's definitely things that actually can help you shift, not change you, but
Yeah.
like help you shift in different ways that can be more elevating in some ways.
I love that. Anytime that someone does inner child work and especially like offer services about it's one thing that's one of the reasons why I wanted to one of many reasons I want to bring you on the show because a lot of people don't understand how important healing their inner child is, being tapped into your inner child, and
Mhm.
just making sure that whatever you went through as a child, because we suppress things, we don't address it, and that's hurting us. So I think that's really important. I had a random, I had a my last shroom psychedelic trip. My inner child called me out, and he was like, "Ooh, I don't like the echo." He was like, "You don't spend enough time with me," and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry. I don't spend enough time with you. How are you? What do we need to do today?" Like for example,
Right.
yesterday I was like, we have this it's like an adult arcade called Dave and Buster's out here. It's like a
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Buster's. So I was like, you know what, Friday, I'm gonna leave work early and I'm gonna just go to Dave and Buster's for an hour and play video games, spend time with myself. And
Yeah, and that was probably, like, really, like, freeing, and it helps you be more present in some ways too, like, ironically, because people will think you're just like, "Oh, you're stuck in the past doing inner child work," but no, it's actually freeing up that space that you felt held back possibly as a child, depending on your upbringing, or you felt voiceless, or you felt there's all different types of examples, but it's freeing, and I talk about that in the course, too.
I'm gonna drop that course for you wonderful listeners to definitely support. Let's dive. So you podcast, okay?
Yeah.
How long have you been on this podcast journey? What kind of like sparked this thing?
Um, I guess it was more of so okay, let me think back. About 3 ish years ago, I'll say 3 or 4, 3.5 years ago, I thought starting it because it was like it started to get easier to start a podcast. Like
Mm,
all you have to do is have your basically just, a little you don't even need a nice mic. You could just use your headphones and your
yeah,
phone. But in my head, I'm like, oh, I need all the equipment, I need all the
just
fancy
your way.
stuff. But
Your
I
way.
really just wanted it to, yeah, I wanted it to go along with like videos that I was doing on like Instagram, things that I talked about with my clients. I wanted to spread the word further. And for me, I guess I'm more comfortable, even though it doesn't seem like it, I'm more comfortable behind like video. So I like
Really?
that within a podcast, no one's seeing me, they're just hearing
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But now it's turning into video podcast, of course.
Of course. Of course.
Um, but being more introverted, I do feel a little bit more comfortable
What's your
doing my
sign?
podcast. I'm an Aquarius,
I
and
don't.
then I have lots of air placements, and yeah.
Okay. I definitely didn't. I didn't expect you to be an Aquarius.
Oh, what did you think?
I was thinking like a Pisces. I just get like this soft, nurturing like energy.
Okay, yeah, I do have a lot of like water and air. That's my dominant, those two dominant. I'm
Okay.
like highly connected to water and energy.
Love
So
water.
that's like my type, my element connection.
I absolutely love that. I'm always curious. So I had my spiritual awakening when I was in college. Was going through, and I feel like because we go through multiple awakenings, but I feel like this was like
Absolutely.
the awakening to like make me remember who we are. I was going through a depression at a time after a breakup, and I was just finding
Mm,
myself, and then just started because reality mirrors once you become the vibration, and I didn't know
right.
that at the time. So looking back, telling the story is pretty funny. And then I started seeing these synchronicity numbers and starting attracting people who was into law of attraction, but what really done it because it's I'm realizing it's multiple steps in the spiritual journey. You have the oh my, I'm the universe, and this is the universe, and blah blah blah. Then it's like, oh, okay, I'm the creator of this universe now. So now it bends and
Mm,
folds to my suggestion, to my vibration, to what I want. This is really interesting. Oh, shoot, you mean I'm accountable for things that I'm experiencing now? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
right.
And that's the part that I feel like trips a lot of people up because they can't fathom the idea that they are responsible for pretty much what's going on right now in this present time, right? Like if let's say somebody was rude to you today, right? Sit with yourself instead of being upset. What vibration did I emit today, yesterday, last week that could have possibly just now
Yeah.
mirrored this experience and make fun of
Hmm.
it? Just have fun. Don't take this experience so seriously because you're responsible for it. So why are you taking it serious?
Right, right. That's very true. The self accountability part and the mirroring, which is something that I highly recommend. Like the self reflection is huge because I'm a huge like writing, telling people to
Mm,
journal and
yes,
write.
yes.
Because one, it's releasing. I'm not telling you to go write a whole book and share all your struggles with the world. Not everyone has to do that, but just releasing onto paper because writing can be is ritualistic,
100%.
and with that writing, that self-reflection is that mirroring. Like you get to look back. Like for me, I've journaled since I was a kid, and within,
Wow.
I've talked about this on one of my podcast episodes, I have journals from when I was a kid till present time, and that helped me to
Whoa.
self-reflect on my own life. Like I looked at different patterns. I wrote
Yeah.
down different patterns in my life. And not everyone's going to have that. I'm not saying everyone is the same, but
Yeah.
if you have records of your life, essentially, like you can even do this with photos. What were you feeling at that moment? Like
Mm,
looking back at like a college photo, it brings back those memories. But I always tell people, write, get those stagnant energies out of your way, write your new script, write your new story, just write. Like,
oh, this is powerful.
and that will definitely help you to self-reflect. And what you were saying with the self-accountability part,
Yeah.
it gets really challenging. It does. Because then you're like, wow, look at this pattern that I attracted to myself in jobs, in relationships,
Yep.
and
People not ready
whatever,
for that. People not ready for that.
insert even the connection with different ailments and diseases. That's not just because of the fried food you ate. That could be because you have these stuck emotions because you think you're not supposed to cry. You think you're not supposed to like share with someone, or like I said, share it with the paper. You don't have to share it with a
Mm,
person, but it's like you have to learn how you can release and
yeah.
find your right tools
Yeah.
towards self-reflection. So,
That's beautiful. You made me think about because I forgot about this. I used to have a journal. You just reminded me, and I was just writing down like how I was feeling. And I think I still
mm,
have that journal. So I'm kind of curious to like go back and see like what young young emotional Richard was experiencing at that time.
Yeah, it's interesting because you can be the observer though. Like you can be
Yeah.
nostalgic and like don't get stuck in some of the sad things if you had sad things
Oh, for
written, but like
sure. Oh,
these,
for sure.
yeah, like just I've looked at it and I was like, oh my God, like look who I was when I was like 10 years old, writing like, oh,
Yeah.
I hate my sibling, or like I hate this, or like
Yeah.
I'm running away.
At least they
Like
know where you at
silly
when they
things
find a
like
journal.
that. Right. But it's just like it's interesting to look back on. And even like I said, even if you didn't have like
Yeah.
journals, like thinking back to old memories and connecting different patterns, or like, oh my God, maybe this is why I react as an adult in this way. And that's just like you
Mm,
saying, like you were listening to your inner child because you have the power now. Like you're
yeah.
not so called helpless
Oh no, we're never.
anymore,
We're never.
or you never were.
Yeah.
However, when you're a child and you are you look to adults for all the answers, or if you're in religion then you look to your God for all the
Yeah.
answers. And you, as an adult now, you have that opportunity to change the story for that child, like using
Mm,
those past things in the now to then like, so then your future is, I don't want to say bright because that sounds so cliche, but you're elevated in the future because you learned from your past.
That's so one thing I'm really big on visualization. Because I'm honest on this show. I remember at a certain point of my life, I was homeless and I was hopping and motel hopping at a certain point. And I remember
Wow.
this one experience where my mom, she had a friend, quote unquote, this lady, and lady was just evil. I never liked the lady. And I just remember like the friend beating me one day and I'm crying to my mom and my mom's not doing anything. So I didn't know that was the part where I started resenting my mom. Like that was a
Okay.
focal pinpoint. So that passive aggressiveness
Mm,
through the years, I didn't realize. Um, and so healed my relationship with my mom past couple of years. Freaking love that lady. I understand she was going through her own programming. She was raising two
mm,
kids by herself, had to take on the masculine and feminine role, and she was oppressed. I can't imagine doing what she was doing, raising two kids
right.
during depression. I know how it feels to be depressed, so I can, only imagine. But just visualizing myself in that scene and hugging my inner child and being there and
Hmm.
saying, I'm here, I got us. And just allowing just
Right.
that space for it to feel nurtured because I didn't have that in that moment, which was
Right.
I was looking for. But to your point of going back to fixing the past to then make a different present and future, we hold the power to do that.
Absolutely. We do. And I'll share this on here because I also have shared this previously, and I think it's pretty significant when we think of, because I don't know if you're into like any sci-fi or
Oh yeah.
Afrofuturism, like when
Mhm.
we think of time travel, like I'm really into, like, if you see on my page like Octavia Butler, she was huge into including our stories into her science fiction, but it was
Mm.
very, her writing is very powerful. Anyway, I say all that to say I had a very powerful dream one time where I time traveled back to my younger mother. Like my mom was young and
Wow.
I was me, and I was teaching her about like self-love, which was
Wow.
very like, it felt, I get a lot of like I don't know, I guess downloads, if you want to say that
Yeah.
word. In my dream, I've always been highly connected to my dreams since I was younger. So within that, I just get all kinds of messages and all types of things. And that was one that was really powerful because I was personally working on my own inner child healing and
Wow.
like my relationship with my mom, because I have not had the best relationship with my mother.
Mhm.
So that's like pretty significant in a lot of things in my life. So within that dream, I was just like, wow, that is so interesting. And then also, you know, how you talked about humanizing your mother, really like thinking of like what she was going through while she was raising me.
Yeah.
Like put yourself in that perspective or view it from that lens. And I'm not saying you're going to forgive overnight, or your
Yeah.
mother-daughter relationship or mother-father relationship, whomever, is going to heal in 2 days or whatever, you know? But it like sparks something. It opens up a new channel for you to
Mhm.
go down and be like, wow, like you said, I can't imagine raising children with depression, like also having depression, or
Mhm.
I can't imagine raising children during Jim Crow, like insert whatever, like all
Yeah.
of these different layers. Um, and you do start to not take it personal, start to look at inner
Mhm.
child healing in a different light. Like it
Mhm.
led me down the path of like even creating my business, like Piece of Food, and then
Wow.
leading to like everything. Does that come
Mhm.
to me every day? No. Have I cried so many times
Of
about
course.
like, you know, relationships with different people in my family or old friends?
Yeah.
No, but it's like you still, you know, you still show up for yourself
Mhm.
and your inner child, or whatever you're healing at that moment, you're
Yeah.
showing up for it, you know? So it's very interesting.
Do you ever? So I just feel like the more, I don't like saying the word aware, the more you remember the details of this game and who you are, it becomes like like you're just observing. Like for example, you can have, let's say you had, um, you're observing someone who maybe just be a shortstop in your life, right? And you're
Mhm.
peeping the old programmings that you no longer align with, or the version that you used to be. Now, the
Right.
old version of you, you would have continued on with the lesson, because now we're just experiencing again with different people. So different, same lesson, different people. But this go
Right.
round, you have the awareness to say, nah, this isn't in alignment with what I want. I wish you well. Before you couldn't do that.
Right. That, are you asking if it's challenging, or are you're just
Just your
asking
thought
my
on it.
perspective?
Just your thought on it.
The more aware you get. Yeah, a lot of people say the more your eyes, you know, the when the veil is pulled off, it you feel both ends of the spectrum or the
Yeah.
scale, where it's like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, oh my God, I'm connected to all this remembering and knowledge, but then also because we are on the energy of this earth,
Yeah.
it's heavy.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it, because of the way I connect to energy and feeling energy.
Mm.
Earth, and especially more so now, it's a very heavy feeling.
Mhm.
So with that being said, it's like, okay, you sometimes straddle both worlds, you're pulled in different directions, you
Yeah.
don't know what to choose. So that's when, I mean, free will, you have that choice of when you're at the fork in the road, which way are you going to go? Do you stay in that same cycle path? Do you still keep doing those things? Or do you
Mhm.
choose to, like we were saying earlier, rewrite your story, connect with different vibrations, connect with your gifts that you're afraid to share sometimes,
Yeah.
rewrite your bloodline in some ways, like
Ooh.
changing your DNA. Like that is a huge connection too. Everyone wants to talk about like like the generational trauma trendiness in
Yeah.
some ways. You know how things are always trends online and
Yeah.
buzzwords. However, are people ready to do the work? Like, are you ready to walk that path of healing your bloodline? And that's what I talk about too, because a lot of us are just talking about it.
Damn. So when you
It's a
say,
start, but it's a start. I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but
yeah,
you have to do the action and the work too, and that looks different than just being like, yeah, I'm healing my bloodline, or Stop generational trauma. It's time for generational healing, because we say that a lot within the Black community.
Yeah.
We do, because we have a lot of layers to and that's another thing I'll mention afterwards, my book club that I have.
You have a book
But
club? I definitely got to join this book
I
club.
just started it. And I'll talk about which the first book. But within that, like I'm saying, on all levels, not even just generational trauma, but within like the Black community, of like sweeping things under the rug.
Yeah.
I don't want to well, no, I'm just gonna say like the
Say it.
pedophilia,
Yeah.
like incest, the just all of it. There's so many layers though within our community, and I know a lot of us do come from really hard neighborhoods, really hard backgrounds, but it's a start to start talking about it and then finding solutions, and because there's a lot to work on, for uplifting generations of people that have suffered, and getting them to talk about things they don't want to talk about, and getting them to change little habits that we call traditions. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's so and so, we don't have, like, that's the crazy uncle, like not really talking about mental health.
Why is it the
Oh,
crazy
like
uncle?
all, yeah, homophobia, like all of these different labels,
Yeah.
layers, excuse me, that we like to talk about, but are we ready for action? Like, are we putting in the work personally? Not you fixing your whole family,
Yeah.
you working on you. And that could actually come out as helping your family, or it can look different. It can look
Yeah.
like you're helping in your community. You have your soul tribe and you're working in that group, or you're just working on you. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
It's funny. So I normally don't get um upset. Well, I wouldn't say I was upset. Well, I guess frustrated with like people's like actions and words. I was leaving the gym this weekend, and I was going to grab some stuff to cook for later on. And there was this guy, and there was these two ladies, couple, I'm assuming. And the guy just started just yelling some derogatory statements. And I got so pissed. I was like, why are you treating two human beings like this? Like like you don't like, there's, in my mind, I'm like, why are we still having this argument or this hatred kind of thing? It just pissed me off. And he was like yelling and spitting. I was like, no, this is not okay. These are two human beings who choosing to love each
Right.
other and be together. So fucking what? And I don't know
And
why
it's
I
none
got
of
so,
your
it's none of your
business.
business.
Yeah.
I was like, sir, you have a great day. And then I have to sit with myself afterwards. Okay, Richard, why did this bother you? Okay, I
Mhm.
know you treat everybody like human beings and source who they are. Other people, they don't operate like this. What is that guy's program, and why does he believe the way he does? He believe? Okay, now we're calm down. Now
Yeah.
let me take a step back.
It's very, yeah, when you do take a step back, it's interesting. Like, it's good. Like, it's not a bad thing that you stood up for people, because that
Hmm.
is part of us. Like, you can, I feel like, channel your rage and your anger into standing up for people that, like, maybe those
Yeah,
ladies wouldn't have spoke up for themselves.
yeah,
Or we can do that, because that's where social activism comes from. Like, you are channeling your anger, frustration, those are real feelings.
yeah.
So, like, don't be hard on yourself either for feeling those way, like
Appreciate that.
feeling that way and sticking up for people.
Yeah,
But that is super important. How are you channeling those feelings? Like, say it does have to do with like sticking up for people who are in domestic violence situations. Let's
yeah.
use that as an example. Like, you can be upset about that, frustrated, and then you're like volunteering at a domestic violence center, or you're
True.
protesting. Like, that is channeling your anger. Like, whatever
Mm,
protest you're doing, that is social activism. The work you're doing, the work I'm doing, that is social activism, and channeling our frustration, speaking the truth, and letting people know, like, no, this is not how we should live. Yes, there are divine laws that we should be going by.
I agree. So let's talk I'm curious about this book club because I love to read, and I'm curious about what.
Yeah, so I actually just recently started it, and we just started our first we just had our first meeting, so there's still time to join.
Heck yeah.
I would spend a very long time on this book that I'm reading, that the first book that I chose. So it's called Sisters of the Yam, Black Women and Self Recovery by Bell Hooks. And even though Black women is in the title, this is a book for everyone.
Love it.
So I don't know, are you familiar with Bell Hooks?
No, but I will be now.
Are you? No? Oh, okay. Yeah. The author is amazing. There are so many books talks of intersectionality. So being a man and being Black, what does that look like? Being a woman and being Black, and what does that look like within the circle of like feminism and being in, especially within America, not in, I mean, in the world as well. Like, what do the many layers look like and how are they interconnected? So she is a huge advocate, or was, they transitioned, was a huge advocate for holistic healing as well. So how does that connect into the healing of Black women? What do white feminists need to know about that? What do Black men need to know about our experience? So that, I chose this book for many reasons. I feel like books always pop in and out of our lives for reasons, because I read this a long time ago. But I like to make the connection. Like, this was written in '94, and literally we're still repeating the same cycle. So it's important to revisit some of these older works that can help us on all levels once again. So I love reading.
Deep.
I always have loved reading and recommending books. So book club is always fun. So you can join. You can email peaceoffood@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Instagram to join. And then I would love for us to, like, whoever's in the group, you can make suggestions for books in the future. And but yeah,
I love that.
And it's a free book club.
Hey, we love, yeah, it doesn't matter. A book club is a book club, but we appreciate it. One thing I've been playing around with the idea. So I realized, like, as like in the Black community, we hold on to the program of victimhood, and that's an outdated programming that we need to shed. So, for example, if you just hold this fear of police, like police are bad, right? Now that vibration that you're putting out there, the police are then picking up on that, right? If you say, oh, alcoholism runs in my family, or X, Y, and Z, when you adopt to that idea, then reality then shifts, because that's your vibration. And so a Black person listens to this, like, well, Richard, what about what happened on the news and this shooting and racism and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, while those realities are still true, it doesn't have to be true for your reality. At that point, you're allowing your subconscious to be hijacked for that reality to be your reality. Okay. Now you have the power to shift perspectives and choose something different. But I find a lot of people aren't ready for that conversation, because it takes them away from that victim identity that needs to be fueled with that, oh, this person did this to me, or those powers that be did this to me. Like, no, you're doing this. You're choosing this.
Yeah, that's again, it's a hard thing to hold up the mirror. And although, yes, generations may have suffered before us, those patterns, like we've been saying, don't have to be your story.
Yep.
Like, what story are you creating for yourself by your behaviors, and like what you're vibrating towards and what you're allowing to vibrate towards you, and staying stuck in that, like, fight or flight. the fight or flight is again that victim mentality. Like what do you have to do? Like get to that root of like, oh, how did my mother teach me, like how Erin is talking about money? How did our parents teach us about money? Oh, money is evil. So then that's what you're gonna think. So what vibrates towards you? So, oh, I'm broke. Oh, I'm this. I can't manage my money. And I can understand that because I have dealt with that. So what mentality, like you said, are you staying stuck in? Woe is me. Like, what are you drowning in and allowing to keep coming to you? Basically, the cycles are just like you're stuck in that cycle, and those patterns that it's coming right back at you.
That's like, so true. Like I said, it all comes down to that accountability. Now, I always I have to have you on the show again because I feel like there's so much more we could talk about.
I can go on for days.
But I asked this last question to my guest. What would your message be to humanity during this time?
During this time, my main message to humanity is to definitely take the time to rest so that you can self-reflect. When we are always on the go, always, oh, I have to go here, I have to do this, I have to do 5 zillion things. Oh, I don't care about my health. This is more important. No, I don't care about saying no. I have to say yes. When do you stop and take the time to self-reflect? One, when do you take the time to listen for the answers that you literally are always asking for, probably, whether you pray or meditate or you're trying to manifest? When are you finding the answers? Like,
you calling me out right now. This is a message.
This is like huge, and this was part of the collective universal quarantine, where not universal, hey, it could have been, but the earthly quarantine where can you sit by yourself? Can you sit and listen to, like, and go in the darkness? A lot of us are really afraid of the dark, and literally and figuratively, you know? So can you go into the dark and shine your light? Can you transmute some of those old negative cycles and patterns? So sit with yourself in quiet and meditation. Like I said, write. You can still connect with other people, but be mindful, protect your energy, like have healthy boundaries, and really start in the mirror. Like Michael Jackson was right.
Hey, the man in the mirror.
Go within, and you will then free up that space, like move all those like dammed up emotions to then allow your abundance to flow in, and not just money abundance, like abundance of what you want, like whatever that looks like.
I love
not just
this.
Like, oh, I'm a millionaire, but if that's what you want to be too, also, that's good too. But like joy, peace, mine is like, I always want peaceful environment. I want that inner peace. Like that is something I aspire to always vibrate towards, and that's not always easy. So find yours, find what you define as abundance. So that's my long advice or whatever to humanity.
I love it. I'm definitely gonna need a part 2 of this episode. Okay, I feel like it's so much more we could have talked about. So much more.
I know, and I always go on a million tangents sometimes, but it's all connected. Like I always say that on my podcast. Even though I go on tangents, it's all interconnected, and like, yeah.
You just got to pay attention to the messenger. That's it. Thank you so much for being on today's episode.
Thank you.
You're absolutely awesome, guys. I hope you enjoyed this jam-packed episode. I'm going to provide all the descriptions below so you can buy the ebooks, book club, and schedule a session to heal your inner child, and also just learn more about holistic health. And guys, as always, you're the creator of your own reality. Everything you think, feel, say will shape everything around you. Be kind to others, mind your vibration, and stop watching the freaking news. That's just my little tidbit. Have a good one, everybody.